More control structures. In this session, I'm going to talk about other structure than we saw so far. We saw while, we saw for each, we saw if and else. So let us see what Perl can allow us to use as control structures. Unless. How you are going to think about unless. Unless is just exactly the reverse of if. So if I say if not n bigger than 10, do the following. Instead of using the if with negation, I can use unless. So that means do the following unless n is bigger than 10. Okay? Where it could be useful, let's say that you have if else and you have no block for if, like all the action that you're going to do is an else statement, then you would rather use unless. Don't use unless else because you can use it but really would make your code very weird and very difficult to interpret. Okay, and it's by the way forbidden in Perl 6 to use unless with else. Until. So it's reverse while. So let me remind you with while. We had while with Boolean statement. We are saying while is not G bigger than I, do the following block. So instead of saying that, you will say until the statement is not true, do the following. So until G is not bigger than I, multiply whatever is in G by 2. So the moment the statement becomes true, you will exit the loop until. Just the opposite, reverse while. And just another way of saying things. So which one you like more? You like the while and you are exiting from the top of the line, or you are exiting from the end of the line. Expressions modifiers. Okay. Now, we can simplify the structure if we have only one single expression in the body. So instead of saying if n less than 0, then curly braces, print the following statement, I can put it all in one line. So look at the second statement, print the following string if n less than 0. So technically, Perl will go to the end of the statement first and see if n is less than 0, it's negative, then we'll print the statement, otherwise we'll not print it. It's an easy way that you are decreasing the punctuation, but really it doesn't change the order, just the syntax here is written in a different way. Of course, you can use it also with until, with while, and with for each, so it doesn't matter, and also with unless. So here we are saying if the input scalar, and we are calling a subroutine valid. If you remember the ampersand, it was for calling a subroutine. If this input is valid, okay, if it's not valid, then print the input, okay, because it's unless. The other one is the same, exactly what we are doing here. We are just making the statement shorter. Okay, and only works with the $_ because this is the only place that you can save the value actually. The negative block, this is very important. As we notice, we use the curly braces at the beginning and at the end of if statement, for each, for the subroutines, but how about just using it in general? Why would you do that? You will do that if you want to change the scope. If you want, for example, here, the scalar n as a scalar root to have value only inside this block, and then you are resetting this value. So some kind of efficiency you are applying to your code, so you're not using a lot of memory. Okay? Else if. Also, taken from other, like in C language, is very popular. So it's very easy. If the expression is true, execute the first expression. Otherwise, go to the second one, else if, and validate the Boolean expression. If it's true, execute it. Otherwise, go to the third expression, validate. If it's true, execute the expression and go out. Of course, this will be implemented only one time. Otherwise, if neither one of the if or else if is true, go and execute else. You have to pay attention here, the else doesn't have an e, so else if as one word, and this is by Lardy recommendation. Auto increment. We saw the incrementation previously, but here we're gonna talk about it shortly. It's the same in Java and C. So you can increment the value of a by 1 just by adding double plus. Now you might put the double plus before or after the variable. The result will be the same, but if you are using it in a statement and you are print like the last statement here, you have to be careful, because let's say the n is equal to 1. In that statement, since I put the plus plus before n, so we'll add 1, 2 will print 2. But if I put the plus plus after the $ n, first we'll print the value 1 and then we'll increment it by 1. So be careful for that. Similar to increment, you can decrement by using minus minus. The for loop, of course we have a for loop. So how it works, like Java and C and JavaScript. First, for, we have the initializer, then the Boolean test, then the increment, and then the body of your for. So this is equivalent as if I initialize a value before while testing and then the body of the while, and inside the while I am incrementing. So here the incrementation happening on top. So how it works? Let us have a real example. For I equal 1, this is how it's going to work. Pay attention. For start with I equal 1. This is the initialization. Testing then. If I less than 10, yes, 1 less than 10, then we'll jump immediately into the body. It doesn't go and increment. So we'll print I can count to 1. Then we'll go up and we'll increment. So I will become 2. We say it is 2 less than 10, less or equal 10. Yes, it is. We'll go and print I can count to 2. We'll go up, etc. until I is 10. Is I equal or less than or equal 10? It's equal 10. So we'll print it, then we'll increment to 11. Is it less than or equal 11? No, it's not. So we'll go out of the loop. You have to remember that here, since I didn't put my in front of I, that is not local. That means if I am out of the loop, for loop, I will be still having the value 11 in that case. So be careful with your code. To make it local, you have to add my in front of it. Okay? And of course, the increment doesn't have to be 1. So here, for example, I am using it with a string. What I am saying, for first the initialization, if the $_ my variable equal to the string Fedrock, then apply this regular expression as a test. If the test is true, then do the following. So in this case, let's say what I am doing, and don't forget, since I'm using parentheses in my test, I'm gonna have the $1. So actually I am testing each character inside the string. In this case, first is B. Is B not empty string? Is not empty string. So in this case, print one character. I will take the B out of the string and I will print it. The second time, the E, I printed. D, I will print it. So let us try this expression and see how it looks. As you can see, one character is B, so we'll take the first B, then the E, then the D, one by one from the string. So it doesn't have to be numerical, you can use a string. Foreach and For. We saw for each before, so it walks us through the variable through a list. It is more common to be used since you know you have for each in your language. So here also I should mention that Perl distinguish that you mean for or for each. As you can see here, I'm using for as if it should be for each, and the second line for each as if it should be for. So it knows based on the context if I meant for each or I meant for. Of course, I would not recommend you to do this, but because most of the program that you're gonna read available over the web, they use for each and even in place of for. So Perl, it figures out which you mean by syntax, by the look at it. Okay. The last function. So what it does actually, it breaks out of the loop. It's like earlier. It's like similar to break and see. So here, for example, I'm saying keep reading from the keyboard for the input file, and then and then it goes into the loop for. So here I have two loops, one inner loop and one outer loop. The outer loop is while, the inner loop is for. So I am saying while I'm reading from the input line, I didn't see the end of file, split. Okay, you remember split, what it does, it takes a text and it takes every text out of the white space and it save it in the $underscore scalar. And what I am saying here, if you see last in that statement, in that string, with the expression or with the character pound, just get out of the loop. And which loop is going to get out? The for loop, because I am mentioning this, the last if, inside the for. I didn't close the bracket yet. So what will happen here actually will continue. If the line has a pound, will break out of it and will print for me the value before the pound, the text before the pound. Otherwise, will continue and will add a new line at the end of the print. Otherwise, we'll continue reading the whole string. So let us try this one as well. It's a nice example. And as mentioned before, it's very nice to use those examples to see actually what they do. As I told you before, if you are copying from the text, sometimes you are ending up with some error message. So make sure that you are rewriting those just because the font is different. That's all. Another one would be, if you can see here how the font of the double quotation is different, it makes this error, and I wanted you to see it real so you can save your time when you have some similar problems. So here it's working, so only the font of the double quotation is different, and here Perl didn't recognize that it's a match. Okay, so let's say hello everyone, this is a test. Okay, and I put enter, so it printed completely. Now how about hello, and I will put pound sign, this is with pound sign. Okay, as you can see, when it saw the pound sign, it stopped immediately. Okay, okay, the next function just the opposite. So we'll skip the remaining processing on the iteration. So it's like continue, as if saying, okay, if the condition met, continue, don't do anything with that one. So here I have a loop. If it's at the beginning, start with a pound, so go to the next one. Okay, go immediately to the next line, don't do anything. So I'm splitting, and then I am printing. So let us try this one as well, just to see the difference. and be careful with the quotation. Here it looks to me is working fine. We'll see after we try it. Okay, it's working. So, and I will put the pound, see what it does, and especially that I am printing each one. And of course it's printing each one because I have the print sign inside the loop at the beginning, and this is each one separately. Okay, so we'll continue as if there is nothing. The redo is just jump upward in current iteration. Okay, so, and as I said, those all being available for you because we're available in basic, and Perl wanted to do something similar, but you really don't have to use them. You can substitute them with any code you are familiar with, and the idea is if you see code using them, you have to understand what they meant. Okay, so in this case, what I have for each word I am reading, I'm saying print the $sign, colon, and space. So if the expression here, I'm reading from the input line, and also I'm adding here the new line. So if what I am reading is not equal to what in the input line, as you remember, standard input, it reads the enter as well, so that's why we have the /n here. So if it's not equal, if I am reading, if what is available now in the $sign is not equal to the standard input, just print sorry, that isn't what I am looking for, and I am just calculating, incrementing the errors, starting by 0, this is 1, and redo what it does, just it will jump upward in the current iteration. So we'll go back, and so as long as I am having characters will work. So let us try it as well. So let us execute it. Here what I have, I initialize it with the word hello. This is the word I'm looking for, and what it says, for each time that I am reading the word hello, which is hello in this case, print, please type, and then what is in the $sign. So if I didn't enter from the keyboard, the word hello will continue until I enter it. So let us try. Maybe I will say goodbye. See, so it's not please type hello. Not. If I type hello, then it's done. The function is terminated. Okay, very simple, and as I say, just for you to interpret it when you see it. Label blocks, this is very important. As you notice, we said that the next and last and redo works on the inner loop. How about if I wanted to work on the outer loop? To do this, there is a way in Perl to add the label to line, so it works on one line at a time. So in our case here, we have the line, in this case is the one that, so here I have the line here is starting the whole statement, so that means the while loop I can call it by just calling the label line, where the second loop, for loop, I started with the word and it's recommended by Larry that you are using the capital word uppercase for naming labels, so you will not have a match with Perl reserved word, and also that is to name them with something meaningful. Like here, what while is doing is reading line at a time, so I name it line. What the split is doing is reading word at a time, so I name it word. Here what it's saying that this loop, and you can see from the line 3 here that Okay, what I am saying here, that I have the last, it's not working. Okay, it's white, pick the white. Okay, here we are using the label after the last, so I am saying break here on the outer loop and not the inner loop. Okay, that's if you see, for example, underscore underscore end underscore underscore end. So we'll continue this one working, will not break unless in my text I have underscore underscore end underscore underscore. Otherwise we'll keep counting the word, we'll keep counting the lines. Okay. Another ternary operations, this is also brought from C. What we are doing here, we are saying, okay, I am creating some kind of the absolute function, regardless that the abs is available as a function in Perl. We didn't mention functions in Perl. There is hundreds of functions. You can find them in the tutorial or from the web. We really didn't have anything so far that we used functions in, but I will mention them every time we see them. So in this case, what we are saying, always there is, first of all, you have a condition. So here in our case, if n is bigger than, okay, let me pick the no. Okay, I'm saying if n bigger than 0, so if this condition is true, then I will take the first statement, which is the n. That means I will have the value of n. Otherwise, if n is negative, less than 0, just negate n. So what will end up in n in this case, always positive. So if I print n, whatever I gave value to n, 5 or minus 5, for example, all the time will be n. So this will be executed one time. Either we are taking this if it's true, or we are taking this value if it's false. So this is the column that separates any operation we want to use. So it guarantees a short circuit. It's very easy to be used. For example, here I am saying I'm calculating the average. Okay, in this case, what I am doing is I am making either if it's n or based on the value of n. If it's positive, then in this case I am summing and dividing by n. Or just the opposite, if I say if there is a value in n, if there is no value, okay, is undefined, for example, will not work. But if it's there is a value 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever, then I am summing and I'm dividing on n. So otherwise, if there is no value here, is undefined, will return a string, not NA will be the value of average. So average, I can test it after that. Does it have a string NA or a string, or does it have the number which is equal to the average? Okay. Logical operators, very easy and very known. You can use either the AND or the ampersand, or the OR, vertical bars. Okay. So here I'm saying true, or something never need to look at. So if the first statement is true, since this is an OR, Perl doesn't continue and doing the statement, because one of the elements, if it's true, is enough. Here, for example, if it was false and I'm using the AND, the same, it doesn't continue, makes a ditto, and we'll know that the value will be false. Okay. And also what it does is returns the last expression evaluated. So I can use it in different way. I can use it in a statement. So here, for example, I am using the OR. So if I am searching for the last name of a person, let's say Fred, and his last name Flintstone, if the value returned, so I have a value, in that case we say that will be taking the first one true. It doesn't continue actually, so I will assign it to the last name variable. Now if it doesn't return a value, that means that person's name is not inside, is not available. In that case I'm returning a string, says no last name. It can be used, this is just a manipulation. I am not in favor in that type, but because it was mentioned in the book. As I said at the beginning, you can use you can spell out the end and or, doesn't have to use ampersand and vertical bar, just because it's easy to use it. Another kind of short circuit controls as following. If I'm saying if next bigger than best, just put next in best. There is an easier way. If next bigger than best and best equal to the next. I will not use them, but if you see them in any place, just to be able to interpret it. Here also, unless m bigger than 10, so print m is too small. Okay, you can make it shorter, m bigger than 10, or print, because we know always or, if one of the statement is right, we'll print. Okay, so I would not recommend it. The only place that I would recommend something similar to that was the handler. If you remember, we really need to read the file, and we don't want the file not to have information or not to be able to read it from the terminal. And if you remember at that time, we used the die function. So here we can use it. We say if you cannot find the file from the input from the input, then or in that case, or die cannot open some file. So either this or that will be executed. Okay. So if the first one was right, was able to open the file, it doesn't have to continue because we said or doesn't continue the expression. And that's it for the more controls. We are done with this unit, and we're gonna move forward to more complicated units.